Hey, what's up, guys and girls? So, welcome to a very new episode on your own astrology channel. And today we'll be discussing about the 11th house in Vedic astrology. And like we do in every while studying every houses, I tell you that there's a Vedic theory that becomes of extreme importance to study the very dynamics of the houses. So for those of you who might be very new to my channel and might be watching me for the first time, I would like to reiterate that Vedic theory over here. And according to that Vedic theory, if we take any house into consideration and we count 12 places from that house. Now just pay attention. If we take any house into consideration and we count 12 places from that house with the counting beginning from the house itself, then the house that we reach to represents the qualities or the attributes that are totally different or in non-compliance from the house from which we begin the counting. Or else you can put it like that the house that we reach to represents the qualities and the attributes that are totally in non-compliance or that are totally different from the house that we took into consideration, because the house that we take into consideration is the same is the similar house from which we begin the counting. So here we are going to study about the 11th house in Vedic astrology. So we'll start the counting from the 12th house itself. And if you count 12 places from the 12th house with the counting beginning from the 12th house itself, you will reach at the 11th house. Now I am not doing it theoretically on a chart as in I have dictated it how shall we go about that thing, and I won't be reiterating reiterating that stuff with a Vedic chart over and over again. I want you people to put in some amount of an effort from your side too. So if we count 12 places from the 12th house, then we reach at the 11th house. If we comply that Vedic theory over here, it would state that the 12th house is not equal to the 11th house, or the 11th house is not equal to the 12th house. You say it either way, it doesn't make any difference. It's going to remain the same. And as we studied in the 12th house, the 12th house is a house of losses. So according to this Vedic theory, 12th house is not equal to the 11th house. That means, quite contrary to the 12th house of losses, 11th house is the house of gains. And that's why 11th house is termed as a Labh Sthana in the Vedic text. Labh in Hindi means some sort of a gains, and Sthana means place. So 11th house is the house of gains, and other than that, in the 12th house we had studied that 12th house represents giving up the material desires, shunning up the materialistic pursuits of life, and getting engaged in the activities where we are selflessly working for the betterment of the people around us, where we are selflessly working for the universe as a whole. And contrary to the 12th house, 11th house therefore represents the material desires, represents our material desires, the fulfillment of our material desires. And therefore 11th house becomes a very prominent, one of the most important houses in Vedic astrology in today's modern day age and era. Now, although I tell that the Kendra houses and the Trikona houses are one of the most important houses in the Vedic astrology, but if we were to look in the modern day context, then 11th house too becomes one of the most important houses in Vedic astrology, because it is the houses of gains. It is the houses that represents the fulfillment of our desires, and 11th house could represent the fulfillment of any desire. It could be the desire of marrying the person of your dreams. It could be the desire of owning a house. It could be the desire of being blessed by a child. It could be the desire of amassing a large amount of wealth and being recognized as a wealthy person. It could be the desire of having a good name, fame, reputation in the society. It could practically be any desire that is represented by the 11th house in astrology. So 11th house is kind of becomes a very important house in Vedic astrology, since it governs our desires. So if we were to look at any desire that when somebody comes up to us and says that whether he would be blessed with whether he would be blessed with the luxuries or the comforts of life, or whether he would be blessed with a nice child, or whether his desire of becoming that IAS, PCS, or getting the education at the university of his university of his choice would be fulfilled or not, then the one house we take into consideration is the 11th house. Of course, the education is determined from the 4th house, 5th house and 9th house, but in addition to it, whenever there is a question about that whether a particular desire of ours would be fulfilled, then 11th house is always taken into consideration. Now, while doing the 4th house in astrology, I told you that if the 4th house of an individual is ruined, then that indicates a spoiled relationship with the parents. It could indicate a very tough childhood. It could indicate problems in studies. It could indicate that the person may have a hard time getting the comforts and the conveniences of life. If the 4th house of that person is doomed, then the person will not be able to enjoy the luxuries of life, and he would have a tough time getting the property, vehicles, automobiles, etc. Similarly, while doing the 5th house, I told you that if the 5th house of an individual is ruined or is under a bad dignity, then he will have a lot of problems with the children. He will have a lot of problems with his studies. He will have a lot of problems with the romantic alliances, and he will face a lot of trouble from the figures that are placed at a higher post in the society. That is, the politicians or anybody occupying the higher post in the society could be a troublemaker for this person. Similarly, while and even if the 5th house of an individual is spoiled, then that person has a hard time getting children. Now, let's suppose a person comes up to me and asks that whether his desire of getting a children or getting the education in a particular university would be fulfilled or not. And let's suppose that his 5th house is ruined. Then most of the people just bluntly declare that since the 5th house of yours is not occupied by a well planet, or since the 5th house of yours is badly placed, then your desire of getting the education at the higher university would not be fulfilled, your education or your dream of getting a child would not be fulfilled. There are certain planetary combinations that had already discussed that what in the 5th house could actually deny you of a child, could make you a childless couple, or what in the 5th house could lead you to have a very hard time with regards to the studies and the romantic affairs. But before making a final prediction, now I know the fact that his 5th house is spoiled. So 5th house is denying him the romantic alliances, is denying him the good studies, is denying him the blessing of a child. But before making a firm prediction, before declaring the final prediction, I'll have to look at the 11th house of that individual. Now, if that 11th house of that individual is very beautifully placed, then it is an indicative of the fact that most of the desires of that individual will be fulfilled. Now, he will face a tough time with his studies. But if the 11th house of that individual, the 11th house of desires, is well placed, then it is an indicative of the fact that no matter what, he will go through a lot of obstacles. He may drop out of college for 1 or 2 years, or there may be a there may be a gap between his studies, but ultimately he would go on to complete his higher studies. Maybe in not a college of a top-notch level, but in a reasonable college, he will be able to complete his studies. And similarly, if that chart indicates that since his 5th house lord is occupied, 5th house is occupied by a planet like Saturn, then he may have a hard time conceiving a child. But the final prediction will depend on the 11th house. What if the 11th house of that individual is very well placed? Then it indicates that that person will ultimately be able to give birth to a child, but after a lot of struggle. So it could indicate a cesarean child, it could indicate that he may have 2-3 miscarriages, and after that he will give birth to a child or something of that sort. So 11th house becomes of prime importance while declaring the final prediction when it comes to taking a final say on whether our desire about anything would be fulfilled or not. So whenever somebody asks us that at what time am I going to get married, or at what time I'm going to conceive a child, or at what time I am going to have a house of my own, then other than the 4th house, 5th house, the 11th house lord also plays a very big role. Whenever we are to decide the marriage timings, 11th house lord is to be taken into consideration. So it will be during the Antardasha, during the Mahadasha, or during the Patyantar Dasha of the 11th house lord that the particular wish of that person would be fulfilled. So whenever any decision regarding the timing of marriage, or the timing of childbirth, or the timing of any desire of yours, any desire of yours will be fulfilled or not, 11th house lord is always taken into consideration in order to decide that at which timing will that particular event, a marriage, a childbirth, or owning a house would actually get fructified. So by now you must have understood that how important is the 11th house in a person's horoscope, because it is the house from which we see that whether our desires would be fulfilled or not. And what else does the 11th house in a horoscope stand for? Well, 11th house in a horoscope also governs the elder brothers and siblings. So if the 11th house of ours is in good dignity, then it indicates that we would have a very good relationship with our elder brothers and siblings. Those elder brothers and siblings would be always there by our side to help us, to guide us, to nurture us in some manner or the other. But if the 11th house of the individual is occupied by Saturn, let's suppose if it is occupied by Saturn, although Saturn in the 11th house does extremely good, even Sun in the 11th house does extremely good, but at least I have seen in my studies that if these two planets, Saturn or Sun, are placed in the 11th house, then there are 90% chances that you will be the elder person you will be the eldest son or the elder daughter in your family. You will be the eldest king, eldest child in your family, and the reason for that is that both of these planets are good for the materialistic things, Sun or Saturn, but there's always they kind of hampers the relationship thing. So whenever Sun is placed in the 11th house, Sun is a ball of, like, it's a round ball of heat that brims with a dazzling light. So when it throws its rays on any house, it burns the things related to that house, especially it burns the things related to that relationship with the house. That is why when Sun is placed in the 11th house, with its heat, it can actually burn the elder siblings. So it is an indicative of the fact that if Sun is placed in the 11th house, then after 2-3 miscarriages, you must have been born to your mother as the elder boy or the elder girl. You might not have an elder brother or sister. It's a very firm indication if somebody has Sun in the 11th house, and if somebody has Saturn in the 11th house, then although it's like a very, very good placement for getting your desires fulfilled or for getting the materialistic things in the life, but it kind of delays or kind of hampers the relationship with the elder siblings. Either the elder siblings would be absent, or the relationship with the elder siblings would actually suffer at least till the age of 35 to 40. And what else? Now the 11th house. Since the 11th house is the house that governs our desires, so the 11th house lord, whichsoever is the 11th house lord, let's suppose whenever you are going through the bhukti periods or the dasha period or the of the 11th house lord, then it's gonna be the time of your life. If that 11th house lord of yours is well placed, or even if it is averagely placed, and you are going through the mahadasha or the antardasha of the 11th house lord, then then during that period any desires of yours would fructify, would be fulfilled. It is an indicative of the fact that during that period, even if you get into problems, somebody from somewhere, you're gonna meet somebody who will ultimately pull you out of that problem. Some people would automatically come to you to help you to help you grow spiritually, or to help you grow materialistically, in whatsoever manner. So the 11th house, again I would say that becomes a very important house for the fulfillment of desires. And if you look at the chart of many of the billionaires, or many of the people who are at placed at a higher rank in society, they have their 11th house lord is associated with most of the other planets in the horoscope. So let's suppose if a person is a Cancer ascendant, then the 11th house is controlled by the planet Venus. So if Venus gets associated with any planet, then the things related to that planet would actually come to you. So if Venus, let's suppose for a Cancer ascendant, if Venus is placed with Jupiter, then even if Jupiter is not in good dignity, then also Venus gonna pull Jupiter to an altogether new height. And since Jupiter is a planet of luck, it's a planet of children, it's a planet of studies, so you will get all the things easily. And if Venus gets associated with let's suppose Moon, then you would be blessed with the mother, you would be blessed with the conveniences and the luxuries of life, you would be blessed with the automobiles, property, land, vehicles, etc. And let's suppose if you are a Virgo ascendant, then if you are a Virgo ascendant, then Moon actually becomes the lord of the 11th house. So if Moon gets associated with any planet, then the things related to that planet will actually come to you very easily. So it's the 11th house lord should be associated with as many planets as possible in your birth chart. If you gonna become that millionaire or billionaire, or you want to have a majority of your life spend in a very luxurious way, spend in a very happy-go-lucky manner, then you would want the 11th house lord of yours to be associated with as many planets as possible. And finally, the thing to note with the 11th house is that if I tell you that Saturn in the 11th house does like this, Sun in the 11th house does like this, of course it's kind of everybody knows that, but you got to look at that where is the lord of that 11th house placed. That is going to tell you that regarding which thing are you blessed, or regarding which house are you gonna get the things related to that house. So if the 11th house lord is placed in the 9th house, it shows that any of your desires related to the 9th house, that is religion, higher studies, the teachings of the father or the guru, you are blessed with all those things in your life, and all those things in your life would come to you easily and would help you to grow materialistically. So if the 11th house lord is placed in the 9th house, it indicates that it will be the teachings of your father, or the teachings of your gurus or teachers, or it will be the religious teachings, or it will be the professors at the university, or it will be the higher knowledge that will help you accomplish your desires, fulfill your goals. If the 11th house lord is placed in the 3rd house, then it indicates that it will be, since 3rd house represents the younger brothers and sisters and the fellow acquaintances and friends, so it is an indicative of the fact that since 11th house lord is placed in the 3rd house, then those younger brothers or sisters or your friends and acquaintances will help you realize your dreams. Similarly, if the 11th house is placed in the 6th house, it is an indicator of the fact that you will be very sound with the principles of business, and you will have the argumentative skills. You will have a good time winning the court cases and litigations. And 11th house being placed in the 6th house is a very good indicator of for somebody who wants to become a lawyer, for somebody who wants to become a businessman, for somebody who wants to become a social worker, because all these and for somebody who wants to become a doctor, because all these things are associated, or all these professions are associated with the 6th house in a horoscope. So 11th house becomes of extreme importance. And even if you see that 10th house is the house of career, and the 10th house of career determines that what is going to be our reputation when we step out of the house. But the results, that is the wealth, that is the wealth that we will be accumulating from the career we are in, it is seen by the 11th house. And I told you while doing the 2nd house, that wealth is seen from the 2nd house, 6th house, and the 11th house. 11th house shows the incoming wealth. The 2nd house shows the savings, the wealth that you have saved, and 6th house indicates that how you make use of that saved wealth in order to multiply it in some manner or the other, by investing it in shares, by investing it in mutual funds, by investing it in any of the insurance policies, by investing it in some kind of a business or something like that. So 11th house, if the 11th house of yours is strong and the 2nd house is doomed, then it is an indicator of the fact that although you will be earning a lot of money, your current income would be very high. Maybe you will not be able to save that money, but it is an assured indication of that you will ultimately be earning a good amount of money in order to take care of your daily expenses and the other things. And if the 11th house lord is placed in the 2nd house, then it's something that is to be cherished. Similarly, if Jupiter is present in the 11th house, this is a placement that needs to be celebrated. Saturn, Sun, and Saturn, Sun, Rahu. These are the 3 planets that do exceptionally well when placed in the 11th house. And Mercury even. Not Sun, but Saturn, Mercury, and Rahu. And why am I saying this? Because 11th house is the house of business networking, is the house wherein you are interacting with, let's suppose 10 people. Let's suppose you are a businessman, you are interacting with those 10 people and telling them about your products and services. Those 10 people will further tell to the 100 individuals that I know this person, he is manufacturing this product, and those 100 individuals will tell to the 1,000 others. In this way, you are networking in order to grow your business, or in order to grow in whichever manner. So in case you are an astrologer and your 11th house is well placed, it is an indicator of the fact that you will be a member of let's suppose an Indian Association of Astrologers, or a world association of astrologers, or any kind of astrology association. You would be related to that association. And if let's suppose you are a businessman, then who is manufacturing paints and chemicals, so you're gonna be the part of Indian Small Scale Paint Association, or IPA, Indian Paint Association, wherein you are a trader or you are a manufacturer. You are meeting all those people, and when networking with those people, you are able to grow your business. You are able to sell your product to the person, to that unknown person, which in case you did not network, you would never be able to get to know that person. But since you are networking with those 10 individuals who instead are telling about your product and services that you are delivering to the 100 others, those 100 others are telling to the 1,000 others. In this way, you are getting your product, getting yourself recognized in to the world. Let's suppose if you are an actor, then you could be a part of the Filmfare fraternity, or any of those organizations that give the rewards, that conduct the functions, that that give away the award functions, like you may be a member of the Oscars jury panel or associated with the Oscars committee in some manner or the other, because this is the way you are actually being recognized. Since you are associated with that organization, the whole of that organization, the whole of that people associated with the organization will recognize you. And Saturn is the planet that is regularly on the move. It's like, it's about, Saturn knows that he is not like that planet Sun, who has an aura that will automatically draw the people to him. Saturn knows that if he were to get anywhere close to the Sun, or if he was to get to the highest point in his career, he needs to go from one door to the other and tell them about the products and services the Saturn is delivering. And similarly, the planet Mercury and Rahu are the planets of mass communication. So communication about the communication on a very large scale, and 11th house is all about that. And Rahu is the co-ruler of the 11th house. So Mercury, Rahu, Saturn kind of do exceptionally well in the 11th house. So guys, this was all from my side regarding the 11th house astrology. And now in this houses series, we are just left with the 10th house of career, which I decided to take it last, since there are a couple of things I want to reveal in that episode, and I am actually working on that. So guys, on that note, this is your host RISHU signing off. Do well, try to find out the purpose of your life through astrology, and in case you like me for one reason or the other, please do subscribe to my channel. Dear people, take care, love you.